Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's an hour of life. They did.
I struggle, I go lie. I mean, kind of a,
I'm the flappers, you ever again? I've been on the gauntlet much.
Joe, you know, still down there was strong, you know.
Also order.
Hello.
Second.
Love Sam.
Like to welcome everyone. First thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda. I entertain a motion if we do that. I'll make that motion. We have a motion. Do we have any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. All opposed by like sign, the motion carries. Also entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Motion, we have a motion. Do we have any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. All opposed by like sign, the motion carries. And that moves us on to public comment. And we have several people signed up to speak. First one signed up to speak is, I'm pronouncing everything correctly, Caleb Lynch, correct? Come up to the podium.
Hi, my name is Caleb. In full transparency, I live in Cullowhee, but I'm here to voice my support for the Sylva Support Stop. Since its inception, I have enjoyed regular visits to donate, in which I also take note of what's lacking and post in the Sylva Shopping Support Facebook group to remind folks to help if they can. I read the article in the Sylva Herald, and I must say I was shocked. Firstly, because I've never encountered any issues at the support stop and have only been met with other friendly faces who are also donating or by appreciative folks coming by to get something that they need. Now, to be fair, yes, sometimes the support stop can be a little disorganized, but like with any store with people browsing, that happens. I enjoy tidying it up and organizing the items when I go donate. It can be frustrating when people leave things messy or an expired box of cream of wheat becomes sentient and starts whispering to you to create more barriers for community aid. But I try to remind myself that people do not all have to have the same priorities of tidiness, and they don't have to be grateful in the way that some of us might expect them to be. I'm a believer in if you see something, do something. So I'm wondering why the few people with complaints about the support stop don't volunteer in some way to make it better. Why not take a moment from a walk to tidy up and remove any trash, or take some crackers and a can of soup and stock it instead of saying that it's empty? If it's empty, it's working. The community table has been in its current location for many years. They, along with the support staff, become more and more important to our community as the cost of living continues to rise, but wages do not. Many of us are just one catastrophe away from needing their help, the support staff's help, from being homeless or otherwise displaced, or simply in need between paychecks. The need is not going away, period. The community table is not open 24/7, but the support stop is. It is a no-contact, judgment-free way for our fellow humans to get food, toiletries, and other things they need whenever they need it. If the town feels as though it should be monitored more, maybe the town should get a camera in that parking lot, especially since there's a playground nearby. The other options for solutions I can offer here are to put up a sharps container if you're concerned about needles being found, to coordinate directly with support staff volunteers when an issue pops up, or maybe throw in a block party in which residents can have meaningful interactions with the people they seem to not want to see. It could be in support of the support staff and bring lots of new folks out who would like to get involved. Locating the support staff will do nothing but make it less convenient and make it more obvious that this really just seems like a few privileged individuals saying, "Not in my backyard." Respectfully, I'm sorry that they feel that way, but this is Sylva. We help people here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next on the list is Susan Bogartis.
Morning. A volunteer at the community table, and I remember the time when we actually brought the box over to the beside the community table. It was about 8 days before Greening Up the Mountain last year. And we were actually cleaning up because Bernadette had a cleanup for Sylva for the Greening Up the Mountain. So I was like, what are they doing with this thing on the back of the truck? Why are they moving this thing to the community table? I'm like, what's going on here? The community table has nothing to do with the support box. You know, one of the things is it's interesting because it's in our parking lot, but we don't have anything to do with it. I've been there at the community table since last year when we had the flood. I've been there about a year and I volunteer a couple days a week. The community table is not mainly my own. Okay, so we're running the community table. We're not there all. Okay, I have seen people use it, the support box. I don't know these people. I don't interact with them because we're pretty busy at the community table. I don't think it's something that we have jurisdiction over or control over. We do have obviously control over what happens at the community table, and we have guidelines and procedures and policies that run that. And some people aren't familiar with our policies when they come in and they're like, we'll just take whatever we want. I'm like, well, no, not really. We have a policy because, you know, we want to try to serve as many people as we can. And so I think that's one thing to think about is that even though it's right there beside our facility, you know, the community table has nothing to do with this place. I mean, some of the same people use both, but we don't have any control over it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Case Patterson.
My name is Cass Patterson. I'm the Executive Director of Cornbread and Roses Community Counseling here in Sylva. I'm new to the Sylva area, but I am Appalachian. And where I come from, we call things like the Sylva Support Stop blessing boxes. And it feels really important for our community and for the folks that are the most vulnerable and marginalized in our community to continue having these resources. At Cornbread and Roses, we offer a free pantry, mental health services, and hold events for communities together. Most of our clients and participants at our pantry also use the Sylva Support Stop. This isn't just for folks who are homeless or, you know, who use drugs. This is for the parents who need help in between bills, in between pantry being open. As far as Caleb addressed about the sharps container, CVR can also provide that if that is a worry for folks. And we are also happy to provide like a monthly cleanup as well, because we feel like this support is so important to our community. We do the best that we can trying to provide food and resources and mental health space for our community, but we want to make sure that everybody has other options, not just at CVR. As I said, you know, where I come from, we call these blessing boxes, and I just want to make sure everybody knows that if, you know, they choose to take it away, you will be taking away someone's blessing.
Thank you. Hey, Aaron Adams.
Good morning. I'm Erin Adams. I have been here in Sylva, oh my gosh, 19 years. And full disclosure, I am reading a statement for Eli Hashimi because she is unable to be here today. So I'm speaking on her behalf. And I'm in obviously full agreement with her. From Eli, the Sylva Support Stop was created in response to our community's desire for a large space big enough to hold large items that the small pantry boxes could no longer hold. Built entirely through the generosity of local residents, businesses, and volunteers, it stands as a visible reminder of the kindness that defines our beautiful town. Year-round, volunteers donate shelf-stable food, clean clothing, shoes, hygiene, and first aid supplies, baby items such as diapers, formula, and wipes, school supplies at the end of summer, coats and hand warmers during the cold of winter, and gently used toys at Christmas. And it's so that everyone in need can find the help that they need without judgment. It is open to all, maintained quietly and consistently by Sylva residents who represent the entire spirit of our town. taking care of one another, especially in times of need. Many of the people who use it are people that you most likely know. Since it was built, countless folks have shared with me that it has helped them through some really difficult times. Those of us who stock, organize, and clean the Sylva Support Stop, we don't do so for photo ops or for praise. This is what we consider a silent service to others in action every day. There are many of us, and we do it anonymously, just as those who need support can come open its doors and get what they need anytime they need it, and also anonymously. We remain deeply appreciative of the Sylva Town Board's enthusiastic and unanimous approval in 2021 of the proposed town-owned location and Aaron Adams's design when the ideas and plans were originally presented. That is what made the Sylva Support Stop possible. We are very grateful to the Town of Sylva staff, without whom the support stop would not exist. They cheerleaded us along the way from the very start, being right there with us every step of the process, and thoughtfully choosing its new location, also town-owned, and carefully moving it there for us. The community table has our heartfelt thanks for its steadfast support. The impact of all that they do for this community is truly awe-inspiring. In summary, the Sylva Support Stop was built by our community for our community. It reminds us daily that our small town has a very big heart. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Cisco? Who was the last time?
Somalia, right.
Oh, yeah.
I been coming to Silva for many years. Support check is an act of kindness. And I would like to say that it what keeps me here in the town of Silva is the kindness. And I think it's an affordability problem, partnership problem. If there's a problem with the support box, maybe training when it comes to police officers are very busy. If maybe 10 minutes a day, somehow they get to the support chat and just know their presence is there. And maybe that can resolve, by not moving it. And it's one of those things where it just breaks my heart to make sure or to know that it could be moved. And it's I'm a man of few words, but I'd like to literally say that it's just an act of kindness, and we should. It's history. It's there for a reason, and it's just that. I really appreciate your time, and I just hope it stays. Thank you.
Jason.
Morning, everyone. I'm Jason Kremenker. I have an office that can see from my office window the support stop, and I'm very grateful and appreciative that we have such a kind opportunity for our community to be part of and participate with. Family and I have been regular contributors to the support stop since 2021 when it was first constructed. I have taken time to sort the clothing and fold it when I have seen that it's been tossed. I've been at retail stores where people shop and leave quite a mess as well. And I don't clean that up, but there are usually staff or paid people to do that. In this case, it's a volunteer effort. So on a regular basis, our team of volunteers do go out there and stock it and put items in there. I have seen calls for support from the community on Facebook with the Sylva Shopping Support Group. And usually within a day or two, there's people out there that are stocking and putting items in it. appreciate living in a town that has such a concern for our citizens. There are many people in this community that use it, that you may be surprised, use it. I can walk to it from my office right now, and I appreciate that it is so close that I can just drop a donation off and in a highly visible location, have access to that. Yesterday, I saw Harry Matthews and a team from Meatballs go out there and clean it and restock it. So it is currently fully stocked. And just to be able to see folks from our community that have stepped up and been part of that process has been very heartwarming. It reminds me of the kindness and compassion that our community has. And I'm grateful and appreciate that the town of Sylva has allowed that support stop to exist on town property. And I hope that it will continue to do so. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kathy.
Hello, I'm Kathy DiGenato and I'm with Help Sylva, and I usually go down and have been for the last 3 years since my son passed away. Sorry, I'm nervous. This is my since he passed away, and he was homeless for a while. And so there were other people feeding my child. So after he passed from addiction, I started Help Sylva. It's a nonprofit, and yes, we are officially a nonprofit here in North Carolina. We make blessing bags every other month. And the blessing bags go down to the Sylva support stop. Me and my mother or some of the other board members on Help Sylva go down there and clean on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, the days that the community table is closed. So we make sure there is food and it is cleaned. I didn't know about the other group, but before that, we went and cleaned. My mother's 82 years old. She's getting out there and with a broom and getting and scrubbing the down. Anyway, I am so appreciative of everybody that made it, but it's outdated, people. I see feces inside of when you open it up, which is rat feces or something. I don't know what it is, but it's disgusting. So we always carry Lysol and stuff with us because you'd want your store clean, wouldn't you? That's their store. We just need a new one. It leaks. It has since it was over at the Bridge Park. Yes, people change clothes out there. Have since over at the Bridge Park. It goes over here, and yes, they do it. I see it because I'm there. Sometimes I go other days besides on the days that the community table is closed, and there's no food on those days. Usually the days I go, which is really sad to me that those humans don't have food. So I go home in my pantry, and I'm disabled. I get what I have, and I take it down there to feed others. But the whole thing is rotten around the bottom. I want us to go down there and look when we get finished today. The building is outdated. Animals can get into it, or rats, rodents, whatever. I'm so appreciative of who made the building and built it. I love them. I think they're great. But it leaks. It leaks really bad. So if you go donate clothes, I guarantee you, which we did yesterday, they're going to be soaking wet and smell like urine today. I can't go home and wash everybody's clothes that's donated. I can't do it. We need a new building. There, but a new building.
Thank you. And the last is Sherry Hare.
Fine.
This Saturday marks 1 year since Helene. I'm exhausted, drained, and burnout, and I know most of y'all are too, who are sitting here. I need to focus my energy on feeding people, keeping people alive, and yet here I am again, asking you all right here about not discriminating against our neighbors. The last time I was here, I was asking you all not to make a town ordinance to mandate people not to sit on sidewalks. This country is so hard for minorities right now. But most of you wouldn't know that sitting up there. All you over here do. Sorry. Because most of you are privileged white men who don't spend every hour that we do worrying about those we love being attacked for who they are and protecting them from the onslaught of violence that's coming at them all the time. Or trying to feed folks who've lost income and know that if they lose their housing, they lose everything, right? Everything. And yet you have enough time to take down a resource that brings safety, joy, and food to our community. From creating it, to filling it, to cleaning it, to sharing it, it's all by our community. It's ran by it. Why take something away that resonates with all of us and connects us in ways that our world and our country desperately needs right now? Everyone here is asking for you to keep it. Just remember that. Let me be crystal clear. That support box is not just for the unhoused, but it's also for our neighbors who have lost food benefits, jobs, food access due to increase in food cost. Folks are losing their ability to keep their families fed right now. This box is the one place that allows independence. In Appalachia, I was told about dignity, and it's very hard to go to a pantry when you've never been to one. And this place might be a place where folks can go to where they might not feel comfortable yet walking into the table, but they'll see people at the table and they'll be like, maybe next time I'll go there. Maybe next time I'll be able to stand in that line. But this box helps them get there because no one knows if you're there to donate stuff or if you're there to take it, right? And so that's the thing. So we've got to be there to keep it there so that we can get that entrance in to help people survive because our country, again, desperately needs it. If there are needles, which we know there aren't, based on constant witnesses and that it's often used as a scare tactic. But if there are, then we need to have a hazard waste container. I know plenty of people who can help us do that. CDR can take care of it, promise you. And even if that is a thing, how does that eliminate the issue by taking that box away? The needles are still gonna be there. You're not doing anything. You're just causing people to lose resources and to not have the access to support that they desperately need. Please stop the madness. Please.
Thank you. Hey, I think it's everyone that signed up to speak, if I'm correct in saying that. Are we missing anyone? So, being said, that moves us on to report. And starts with the mayor's report. And I have, this whole subject is something I want to talk about. First and foremost, I have never made a statement that I wanted to do away with community support box. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a wonderful thing. We can somehow be a blessing to people's lives less fortunate than we are. But I think we also have a responsibility as a town and as a board to represent everyone in this town, including the little mothers that are taking their little kids to Poteet Park. The only little kids park we've got. I did make the proposal to move it. And I'm not backing up from that one bit. I think we need to improve it. I think we need to make it better somehow. I think it needs to continue. And I think it needs to be in a separate place from our little kids' park. I also want to offer a formal public apology to Ms. Paige Christie and the folks that run the community table. Because I listened to someone else repeating what they said, when they didn't say that. So I want to offer a public apology to you. And I do support the community table and it's all of its efforts. I think this box is a very needed thing. I think we probably need to improve it somehow. Because you're right, it does leak. You're right, things can get in it that don't belong in it. Not sure that we don't need to provide some way to leave something there that's also refrigerated. So things don't go bad. And I'm not opposed to spending a little bit of the town's money to try to participate. But I do think it should be moved away from our little kids' park. And I've looked at a couple of places that we presented today. And, that's all I have to say about it. Moving on to Miss Mary.
I do want to talk about Sylva support, but I was thinking we probably would be talking about it at new business, so I don't have any other comments right now.
My only comment would be, how inspirational most of those words were and how appreciative I am in the town is of the people who put effort into, supporting the community. That was moving. Thank you. And it remains moving.
I'll second that. I think it's an important resource. A lot of things we can't control if somebody comes in and messes it up, but I'm in full support of the Sylva Sport box. And I heard the same. I saw the thing in the newspaper about someone saying there were, needles and all manner of things there. And I actually spoke to that person about 3 weeks ago at a different meeting, and I asked the question, was this something that you heard, or was it something that someone, or that you saw it, you actually saw it? And he said it was something that he heard. It was quoted in the paper as saying that basically was the gospel. That's not the case.
Yeah, they understand me. It's down there.
Good. Good morning. I just want to say that I am in support of the box, and I think keep it. I think us as a board help maintain it, keep it running efficiently. We need to talk about it more when it comes up later today. That's all I got to say.
No?
Yeah, I also want to say thank you to those who shared today. It's been got some good information. I'll state most of my thoughts on the support staff for our, we'll discuss that more, but I think it's a good thing for our town. Keep supporting those in need, however we can. I want to say thank you to our police department for being a presence in town quite a bit lately with a lot of things happening. So thank you all for being there. From the vigil Saturday, there was a busy, we've had a lot going on downtown. There's been a lot of things there that I live right there on Jackson Street. I see a lot of things happening. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Also was able to talk to some of the guys at the fire department. It sounds like they've got some things repaired. Our ladder truck is getting done, so good to hear that. That's about it for me.
Good. Thank you, sir. That moves us on to our manager's report.
Morning. The ribbon cutting is at 11 at Brighton Park following the meeting. Please carpool if possible because parking is limited. Employment update. We want to welcome Officer Katie Roberts to the police department. Katie started September the 15th after relocating to Sylva or to the area. She formerly served as a detective in South Georgia, and we still have a maintenance technician position open in Public Works. The floodplain mapping public meeting will be held September 29th at the Department on Aging at 5:30. Many property owners in town the notices were mailed by the county, but went to property owners impacted in town. So please plan to attend this meeting because the board will need to adopt the new maps at some point in the next year. Sheila Gahagan, our auditor, was here conducting August audit field work earlier this week. The MAPS group is coming October the 1st to begin the employee meeting for the pay and classification plan. Every 5 to 7 years, the town goes through this pay study, personnel policy review. So that will kick off October the 1st. And the Essentials of Municipal Government course I'm going to keep reminding you is January 15th to 16th through the School of Government, and it's going to be taught in Asheville. So please put this on your calendars because the entire board will attend this training and the required ethics training every 2 years following the election. So please make arrangements to attend, and I'll register everyone once the registration window opens. The fire department's ISO rating has been rescheduled for October the 29th. Fire department's open house is October the 4th from 12 to 4 at the fire department. And Walk for Hope is the same day, October the 4th, but from 10 to noon at Bridge Park. Any questions? Thank you.
Good, thank you. Public Works.
Morning, everybody. I want to echo Paige. I hope to see as many of you as possible at the ribbon cutting today. It's about 4 years in the making, and we get to cut a ribbon on something that been working at basically the entire time I've been here in one capacity or another. So please come celebrate that occasion with us. Paige and I are still reviewing the contract for engineering for the Scotts Creek retaining wall project. We have selected a firm and we're negotiating price and scope with them currently. Hope to have an executed contract next week. There's a pre-bid meeting today at 1 o'clock at Pinnacle Park for contractors and their interest in that trail expansion project as a result of the RTP grant that we've received. Had a lot of interest. There's about 8 trail building specialists that are wanting to take a look at what they're getting into before they start. So I'm excited to meet those folks. Hope you've noticed fall decorations have gone up around town. We're feeling festive here ahead of Mountain Heritage Day this weekend. And repairs to sidewalks on Land Street and Shulman Street have been completed in the recent weeks as well. Loading zones on Mill and Main Street are going to be repainted in the coming weeks. That's desperately needed. We're getting there. We've been waiting for a break in the mowing and the weather, and I think we're going to get it here coming up pretty soon. So you can be looking out for that. Public Works Department's going to be participating in Hands on Jackson on October the 9th. That's a annual day of service countywide. We always identify a project here in the town limits and we go to try to help somebody out. This year we're doing driveway work for an elderly lady that needs that. In the past, we've built decks, we've done landscaping, all manner of stuff. So that's a good day. If you want to participate, let somebody at the Department on Aging know. They'll be happy to get you in. We still have a vacant position open, like Paige said. Got some interviews for that coming up, so we're excited to get that filled. Any questions?
If you approximated a timeline on the wall repair back here, I'm not trying to nail you. I'm just curious if you have approximated.
Well, we're not even under contract.
Okay, so there's no way to know.
So I would think groundbreaking in the spring, being optimistic. And that's about as much as I would definitively comment on right now.
And I'm not 100% sure of this, but I think the choice selection now, the negotiation for pricing is only in the engineering, not the contractor.
Yeah, engineering
work. We've not even got to that point yet.
Engineering, project management, running the bid process for us. So that the geotechnical stuff, structural engineering, there's a whole lot of moving parts to that project. And a lot of that price is by the geotechnical complexities. So again, we're in the negotiation phase of that, and we'll be bringing updates as we have them. But that's an update currently.
I'll also mention that first hurdle is the engineering, the second hurdle is the funding and the grants and all that, and whatever match we have to come up with to make that happen. Then there's the probably year-long process of trying to get a permit to do.
Stay tuned.
Just said that.
Okay, Jake, thank you very much. And moving on to our police chief.
Right. It's good to see everybody here today. I'm gonna forego my usual report. And if there's data in there that you're just hankering to know about, I'll be glad to get with you and tell you that stuff. But I want to spend my time this morning addressing a couple of misconceptions. Need to be cleared up. With some of everybody, we want to talk about the sports stop. I'm not. Everybody talk about the sports stop. I'm not. I'm sure I'll get my chance here a little bit with questions. But one thing I want to talk about is, and forgive me if I seem a little bit defensive. I might feel that way a little bit on the inside, but I'm gonna try not to be. One of the things that came up in the last meeting was about our Poteet Park gates being locked on time, and so. A long time ago, really long time ago, somebody decided that the police department was the best people to lock those gates. And whenever we, probably because we're the ones that are here, at that time. Town staff's not here at dark. So we usually try to lock those gates at dark. And in the past, there's been times where that has not been done the way it should be for sure. And then probably in the last several months, I know the mayor and I've had plenty of conversations about trying to do better at that, get them locked on time. And we definitely have improved in that. But even as we improve, we still seem to still get that same complaint. And so what I started doing several months ago, I should say, is I started having my folks document the exact time that those gates get locked. And here's what we found out. They're getting locked on time. It may not seem that way, but they are. And so the average time, I can tell you the exact times because I know it gets locked at 8:35 on average, and it gets dark around 8:23 according to the internet. So that's on average. Sometimes we don't make it that time. Sometimes we do. Just hit and miss. We're the police, so we're doing all kinds of things. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that next. But so if you have a situation where if you hear, especially people on the board, if you hear that complaint, it's not factual. On average, those gates are getting locked when they're supposed to be. Sometimes it might be midnight. Sometimes it might be 3 a.m. Sometimes they might not get locked. That's how it is. That's the way it is. And I'm going to explain that to you here in just a minute. But enough about park gates. So the data's there. And like I said, have we always done it that well? No, we have not. But are we doing it that well now? Yes. So there's the update on that. There was a comment made last week about it not getting done, and that did not make my police officers happy because it is getting done. So enough about park gates for now, unless it's a problem in the future. So then moving on with that, one of the things that hit me this week that the police department is dealing with is there's this idea that seems to hang on with elected officials and with our town folks too, that things are like they've always been in Sylva, and that the police officers have got time to just walk around town with coffee and talk to people like they used to. That is not our reality. That is not what's happening in Sylva. And if you don't know that, come see me. I'll be glad to show you. But I'm going to give you just a couple. Even at Fully's, we are fully staffed, y'all. I can't tell you how happy I am to be fully staffed. It has been over a year. And what you may not know is we run lean in the town of Sylva. And if somebody isn't there to work that shift, somebody else has to. And so sometimes it's me. And so none of us like working extra 12-hour shifts. We like to go home. We like to have our weekends off, all that, just like everybody else. But when we're short-staffed, we carry that load. That we have minimum staffing. You're going to have police officers when you call. That's the bottom line. That's not something we can skim on. Right? And so happy to be fully staffed. But even at fully staffed, the North Carolina Justice Academy did a study. It's been done 3 times now about our staffing. And even at fully staffed, that staffing study says we're 4 to 6 officers short from what would be acceptable today. So our officers are doing their thing. They're busy. And so we answer about 1,000 calls a month. 1,000 calls a month. That's not proactive stuff. That's stuff that we're getting called to. And that's about 25 a day is what it averages out. And just for perspective, that's like we all know our fire. Y'all see the fire trucks. You can't miss them. Our fire department's busy. They're out doing stuff all day long. But that's 20 more calls a day than the fire department. That's 7 times the work. So with about the same staff. So granted, when Mike and those guys go to a call, they may be there all day long. So and it can be that way for us too, but they can be there for hours. They might not be there a short time. A lot of their calls are trying to get the roadway opened up so you guys can drive and not get stuck somewhere. But and same with us. It's no different. When we get our calls for service, it may be something, you think about it. If we have a big investigation, we may get a call and we may be working that call 6 months. We may be working that call a year from now. There are some cases that you can probably think of. A year later, we're still working on those cases. Those don't go in that 1,000 number. Those carry over. That's one call, right? Even though we're working on it for months and months, still just one number in the CAD system. So all of us have jobs. You guys all have that same things that carry over every day. You don't get credit every day for something you've been working on for 6 months. So 1,000 calls, like I said, that's about 25 a day. And during peak hours, during dark, you guys know you live here. Now there's things going on. People are always wrecking. And people are, that's times when we have things going on in bars, all that kind of stuff. About dark is one of our busiest times. But I just want to say, I just want to defend my officers a little bit from that mentality of that there's plenty of time to do all this stuff. There certainly is not plenty of time. So as a matter of fact, they're humping most days. They're going place to place to place. I have stood in a Walmart parking lot myself on 2 occasions where we had 4 different scenarios going on at one time in that parking lot, just that parking lot. And there's 2 of us on duty at a time. 3 if we're lucky. And that's at night. So if we're lucky, we don't see 3 very often. So anyway, my point in all this is just to try to remind everybody that we are so much busier than what we used to be. And that small town thing, I love it. And I wish if I could create something right now, it would be a downtown officer. I would love to see somebody downtown all the time. But the truth is, if I have another officer, I don't know that they can still be downtown all the time. I think they need to be doing other stuff. So it's tough. It's real tough. But something that I wrote down, our officers, they carry out your vision, the vision that you create for the town, and our elected officials are the ones, you create the environment that we have. You create our pay, you create our equipment, you create all of that. It's a super important job. And so that's why I think it's important today to say all these things kind of out loud. I think most of you probably realize that or understand that, but sometimes whenever you see the police department, they don't get something done right, or they fall short somewhere, it's easy to say like, hey, it's just Sylva. I'm telling y'all, we are busy. It's not just Sylva. We stay busy. But and these folks, I mean, we get bit by dogs, we get bit by people, we have torn ligaments, like we roll ankles, like injuries, it's like somebody's always got some kind of injury going on. And the thing is, they don't do that. They get a paycheck. It's about grocery store pay. I'm gonna be honest with you. They get a paycheck, but that's not why they're doing that, right? There is no one that works for our town that couldn't drive 15, 20 minutes one direction and make a lot more money. They do it because they love this town. That's why they do it. So that's a little bit of I'm sorry, you got to sit through a little bit of a pep rally for my police department. But that's what it is. So this is my job, is to do this. So we just and almost zero citizen complaints. I mean, we'll get complaints sometimes, but they're almost never, ever substantiated. Body cameras are a big help for that. It helps us show what really happened. And we're doing all this and we're winning awards for it, right? We're making it look pretty good. So that's something that we're really proud of. But that speaks to the team. And good leadership is part of it too, but that speaks to the team for sure. But in conclusion, what I will say is your words are very powerful. And so are mine, right? So are the things that I say. So are our police officers. Our police officers, if you deal with one of our officers tomorrow, the chances of them remembering that next week is pretty slim, because they're going to deal with 1,000 people a month, right? But you are never going to forget how they treated you and how they talked to you. I have to always remind my officers, especially the young ones, of you won't remember this person, but they'll be 45, 50 years old and saying, I got pulled over this one time. Y'all have a story, everybody here's got it. And that one guy, he was rude to me, probably not gonna remember that. He probably didn't remember that an hour after it happened. So I have to always remember, words are very, very important. Same from our elected officials, just the same. Your words are super, super important. And so whenever I've had situations recently where I get flooded with phone calls of somebody said, what about this? I think this is what's going to happen. I'm like, oh, I'm just the police chief. I don't know about all this. Like, that doesn't sound right. Just calm down. So just please, I just want to please understand how important your words are. And I'm going to do my best to do the same. But like I said, I'll forego the usual details. I've got to make it one, of course. But I just want to take a minute just to remind everybody that all these cars that you see, they need the police to do stuff, right? They break down, they have car accidents. There's always something going on. And so it just feels like sometimes some folks forget that. And I just want to kind of remind everybody, and also just take a chance to sort of cheer on our police department and tell them what a good job they're doing, and just sort of put that out there. That's my time. We got a lot more to talk about, but if anybody has any questions about it, feel free to let me know. You don't have to talk about, like I said, if you want the regular stats and all that stuff, it's easy to pull off. Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm gonna start off by saying that we've been very busy this year. Y'all know that. We've run up to 1,176 calls right now. That's about 100 ahead last year. And that's a function, I think, of people, we have more population than what we used to have. So back in the day, we'd run 250 calls a year. So, if you have any questions about that, I got other things I want to talk about too. You remember, about a month ago or so, Sylva and Johnny, we were talking about rescues on Pinnacle Park. We were able to receive a state grant to buy a side by side. It can be used for that. And, we're also going to be able to use it for brush fires. It'll have a skid unit carrying water. So we'll be able to use that. Hopefully we're going to buy it today. This afternoon.
Is that a rig that possibly the police department could borrow for draining up the mountains and that sort of thing if need be?
Well, we could probably make that happen.
Okay.
Y'all. It's a needed thing, and you know, we talked about it before, and we're wondering how we're gonna fund it. We just have to look up and run into it, you know, so we got it. The other thing, the ladder truck's still out for repair. You were talking about that earlier. Still had a couple. That's a needed thing too, but it takes time. Basically, because they have to get the parts ordered, they got all the parts, then they have to put it together and then have to recertify it. It's actually gonna work. Next thing I was going to talk about is our open house on October 4th. I'd like to invite everybody to come. Starts at noon, runs 4 o'clock. Give you a tour of the fire station. I'll answer any questions you might have. Anybody's welcome to come anytime they want to through the week. We're open to the public. If anybody's has any questions, just wants to come through the fire station, we're more than happy to have people come through. See kind of what we do, and that way you know kind of where your tax money's going. That's really all I have, unless you got any questions or anything.
Thank you. Do we have a Main Street report today?
Morning. This is a great theme I see coming around here. So in the Main Street Department, most everything that you see, the events that you see and things like that, we have a boatload of volunteers, which we're so appreciative that make those things happen. But also the 3 department directors that you just heard from are actively involved in all of it. They work a lot of overtime. And some people think that's a great thing, but it takes them away from the families because as you can imagine, if you're dealing with emergencies, fire and police, you get called away quite a bit. And Public Works does too. They're the ones picking up trees that are blocking roads and clearing the ice and preparing for snow and dealing with slides and things like that. So I really appreciate all of you supporting them because they are the people that really made everything happen. And we're so appreciative. So we had the Mountain West Brew Fest. We didn't want to bother any of them for this. So we had about 30 volunteers that helped us for that. We had about 500 attendees. And we felt like it went really well. We're doing a debrief right now to evaluate whether it's something that we can continue to do. Adding a new event is never easy. So we want to make sure that it's really impactful. So we're getting feedback from the breweries to see if they do it again before committing to do it next year. I also attended the Outdoor Economy Conference last week in Cherokee, along with 650 attendees from 38 states. And the Jackson County TDA sponsored a booth with representation from the county, town, and small business center. So we all worked that. Additionally, we were able to take a busload of those people on an excursion to Sylva again this year. And it was great because we had several different programming things that they could do, one of which Jake headed up to talk about our stormwater system and the trash trout and how we're working to clean up Scotts Creek. And everyone absolutely loved it. So it was great exposure for the town. A reminder that tomorrow the Mountain Heritage Center is hosting Pickin' in the Park with the Well Drinkers at Bridge Park at 6 p.m. It's a concert. And so they've reimagined Mountain Heritage Day to become Mountain Heritage Days all week. So they'll still have the festival in a different format on Saturday. So I'd encourage everybody to go out and support them. Do you guys have any fun?
Hey, do we have more planning boards?
I'd like to move that to the next meeting because they're meeting tonight.
What about the sponsor?
Yes, the Clearwell project in Cullowhee is rocking along. The interconnect between Western and Cross is going to happen, and that will be a huge benefit for the whole service area. And the wastewater treatment plant number 2 here, the second week of October, the new should start for it. That's all I've got for Twas.
Well, Pinnacle Park.
Jake touched on a lot of that. So we'll have more updates because we have a lot of grants coming to the park. Exciting.
That concludes our reports. And moves us on to new business. New business is a presentation from the community table, page 3.
Papers.
The enrollment number is it? I'm so sorry. I missed.
Yeah.
Using everybody's hands here. Papers, figures, let them know what. That's good. Okay. All right, thanks for having me. This was something we used to do more regularly pre-COVID and COVID. So happy to be here, checking in. I think this is my first presentation to this particular mix of board members. So I'm going to start with things you might already know and hopefully get into some things you don't. Community Table was founded in 1999. It started off completely volunteer run with a working board and a lot of churches, feeding 5 to 6 people a couple times a week. 25 years later, 26 years actually in August later, we are a 501c3. We are partnered with Feeding America, Man of Food Bank, and dozens of other local and regional partners. And we are feeding between 100 and 150 people 4 nights a week. And through our food pantry alone, we are running between 10 and 13,000 unique individuals a year using our services. If you stop and think that the population of this county year round is under 50,000, and we are serving 13,000 individuals, that shows you how great the need is. Okay, this is not a one-off. This is not homeless people and druggies. This is, quite frankly, your friends, your neighbors, the people you work beside, county workers, town workers, college professors, teachers, you name it. Most of our folks are working families. Most have kids. Meals are served restaurant style, which means people come in, they sit down, they get a home cooked meal, they're waited on just like they're in a restaurant. The food pantry was started in 2008 with the financial crisis and the housing crisis, been going strong ever since. In the last 18 months, we've seen a 60% increase in the number of folks through our food pantry. 25% pre-Helene and rest since Helene, which we're coming up on a year anniversary, and I'm stressed out just thinking about it. In 2019, right before the pandemic hit, we got a grant to take the table farm to table. So most of the food that comes out of our kitchen is grant funded, and it's local and regional produce. So we're putting money in the hands of farmers and producers, meat producers, K&B Meats, KT Orchard, local farms. Management is a volunteer board of directors, and we have 3 employees full-time. Myself, the executive director, a kitchen manager, and a full-time food pantry manager. So that's 3 employees, and the rest of our organization is completely volunteer run. We'll get into that more in a minute. So we serve anyone in need. Folks have mentioned how much courage it takes to walk in the door and say, I need help. We are mountain people. I'm not from this area, but I'm from the mountains of New England. Mountain people are mountain people. Mountain people are proud people. They do not want to ask for help. They do not want to have to ask for help. If you walk in my door, that is courage. That is courage to say, I am in need, and I'm going to trust you to help me and not judge me. And that's what we do. We don't ask questions. People shop for what they need. There's no questions when you sit down to eat.
There's an assumption that most of the folks that come to us are on assistance. 14% of the people over the last 3 years who've come through our door are on SNAP. That means 86% weren't. That's a lot of folks. And contrary to popular opinion, in the last 2 years, fewer than 150 people who have come through our years have been chronically unhoused. Did we have an increase in the number of unhoused people we were serving after Helene, after people lost everything? Yes, we did, because people lost everything, which just goes to show how close any of us are to needing what we do. Because there were people in $1 million homes who were suddenly homeless and had nothing. Or this region. So I just want you to keep in mind that we're there for you, whoever you are. If you have a car breakdown, a medical bill, whatever, that puts you in a state of need, whether it's once every 5 years or every week, we are there. There's been questions about our funding. I think that people think that we're like, because we're the community table, that we are community funded. That is not the case. Between January 1st of 2023 and August 30th of 2025, 28% of our funding came from individuals. That's private people writing me checks or donating at the end of the year when their retirement payout from our IRA or something rolls out. They donate it to us. That's individual payouts. Fundraisers are 20%. That's our annual mailing, the Empty Bowl, which everybody loves, April 10th next year. Put it on your calendar. 48% comes from grants and 4% comes from others. That may be Innovation Brewing or Baxley's Chocolate or Dillsboro Chocolate Factory says, hey, we're doing 10% of our funds to you for this day or whatever. That falls under other. We do regularly apply for county funds through Jackson County, the county commissioners. That is a grant application process. We are not handed taxpayer dollars. We have to apply. We have to justify what we need and why. And 2023 to 2025, between those 3 years, we've received a total of $50,000, which is 12% of our total grant funding and 6% of our total budget over the last nearly 3 years. So that is all the money we get. And regarding, taxpayer, everything else comes from grants, private donations, and fundraisers. And again, that's not something we're handed. That's something we have to justify needing and asking for every year. I have attached our annual budget for 2025 on here in case you wanted to take a look at, what we spend and why, where things come from. This was our estimated budget for that starting at the beginning of the year. We're actually operating under this budget currently. We're actually hoping to come in under this. That would be delightful. The food costs are up significantly. So the other thing to take a look at is this is our chart of our numbers, our increases in numbers. There's a list of how many families we've served year over year, the number of individuals, children, how many people are on SNAP assistance, how many meals we've served. And I've got 2025, I've got the actual numbers to the end of August, and I've got an estimate if I average that out, what those numbers will be by the end of the year, by the end of 2025. The other thing to look at is volunteer hours. We are well over 5,000 hours a year in volunteers. And based on IRS, hourly rate for a volunteer, if we had to pay that person, tax rates, you'll see the value of those volunteer hours. So in 2023, it was $194,417.82. In 2024, it was $218,997.66. I cannot talk today. To date, it's over 176,000, and we expect it to be over $266,000 in value of volunteers by the end of the year. If we had to staff and pay those people, if the town had to do that, benefits, paid time off, etc., we operate as a nonprofit and serve the people we serve at a much reduced rate compared to what it would cost a government agency to do. And so that is part of the value of what the community table brings to the community. We have partnerships. I've got a partner list here. This is not a complete list. This was me going, I got off the top of my head. Food partnerships range from Manna Food Bank to ASAP to local farms to the Cullowhee and Sylva community gardens. Dozens of local individuals bringing food from their gardens, also along Grace Place, Waters, Fishes and Loaves, United Christian Ministries. We partner with all people that bring us food on a regular basis. We are connected with foundations as large as Dogwood Health Foundation and as small but mighty, I would say, as the Great Smokies Health Foundation based here in Sylva. And some private funds like the Balsam Mountain Preserve Gift Fund. And so we work with a lot of folks in that regard. And then as our local partners, our community partners are vital. And that includes Town of Sylva, from whom we lease the building at a greatly reduced rate. Thank you so much. We took over that building in 2010, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the Department of Aging, County Health Services, Jackson County Emergency Services, we worked really closely with them during Helene. College, Southwestern, Western, NC Works, Westbridge Vocational, Sylva Warehouse, Sylva Support Stop. As was stated, we are not directly involved with maintaining the Sylva Support Stop. We do consider them a partner, a vital, valid partner in the work that's going on in this community. And I was asked by someone, do we see people using it? Food? Oh, no, because we're open, they're not. They're coming to us. So, they don't need to use that then. But I will say this about the support stop. We have noticed people who, because of the anonymous nature of it, people feel safe going there. They don't have to take that risk of, can I walk through this door and trust someone? Can I trust them with my family? Can I trust them with the knowledge that I'm in need? Can I trust them with being vulnerable and admitting that I need help for myself, for my family, for whatever? They don't have to do that as a support stop. But the location of the support stop as it currently stands, and I do agree that it needs improvements. It needs a permanent foundation like it used to have before, which would probably help with some of the structural issues like it used to have. Is we have seen people who use that support stop then start to become comfortable with us and be willing to walk in our door and say, hey, I've been, but can I? Absolutely. Yes, please, let us help you. And so its location not only fills a need when we're not there, but it allows people the opportunity to get to know us so that we can help more people. It builds trust. And I think that is something to also consider in the discussion of this vital resource. We get local business support. This is just a short list because I didn't want to go on for 75 pages, but City Lights Bookstore, City Lights Cafe, the chocolate shops, February is coming. The chocolate shops donate to us around Valentine's Day. So let's look at the chocolate shops. The Pottery Festival, the Herald Supermarket, Harris Church, Casino Innovation Brewing has been a great partner, on and on and on. So we feel very blessed to have the support of this community at the individual level, at the business level, at the level of town and county government. So a little bit about, because you may know that Town of Sylva owns the building that we're in, which previous to, Paige and I discussed this when I was looking for flood insurance a while back. It was built in 1945. Got that date, I think, out of the records. It was a school. I talked to somebody who actually graduated from that elementary school just Tuesday. It was a school. It was a Legion Hall. We used to have dances. It was the Golden Age Center. And then it was vacant. And then the town of Sylva in 2009 started talking to the community table, the previous director, Amy Grimes, now Amy Hutchins, about the community table taking over that space. And in 2010, the community table and the town of Sylva negotiated, after many, many rounds of negotiation, a lease for that space, and began work on the building. And I've got some pictures in here of what it looked like when they stripped it to the studs and started the work on it versus what it looks like now. So, and there's an article from the paper in there about the day we moved in. And volunteer labor prior to moving into that building, the community table through grants and donations put over $63,000 worth of work into that building before we even stepped in. And I have the breakdown of that in there as well. But you can see we've gone from air studs, walls, a complete kitchen with brand new shiny tile floors. Thank you for your assistance with that, Jake. And the dining room, again, has gone from this. You want to come eat with us? I want to come eat with us. Okay. Again, you walk in, you sit down, we take care of you just like you're in a restaurant. So in the time we've been in that building, I believe there's a monthly cost to the town or an annual cost. I can't remember. It's annual cost of $336 that the town pays for Terminex to come and replace the little termite things outside the town, outside the building. And we're covered as a building owned by the town under the town's general liability policy. Since we took over the building, we have asked for assistance in 2018 with the microburst that tore part of the roof off. And I had to get up on the roof and nail a blue tarp to the roof that was there for several months. And then the county, the community table, and the town of Sylva, thankfully, you guys appreciate it. And I think Mary was on the board that voted for that. Voted to split the replacement of that roof, which we found when we got into the roof had never been done, 3 ways. And that was a cost of just under $8,000 per organization. This past year, we had holes in the kitchen floor that we needed to have repaired, and we did a bunch of bid process, hired local Lewis Flooring to come in and do that. They got into the building, got down, and realized that all the joists under the kitchen were rotten. So I called Jake. I said, come look at this. And we were set to pay for the whole thing. We were ready to do that. It was $34,000 we were ready to do. And the Public Works Department and the town of Sylva stepped in with the remainder of the 2024 maintenance budget and was able to cover the costs of those joists, which was, I think, just around $12,000. Those are 2 expenses that the town has covered in the 13 years we've been in it. So we recognize the value of that space, especially as land values and everything have skyrocketed around town, and we appreciate the proximity of access to other services in town. People can talk to us from other services. People can take transit to us. We are accessible. We are easy to find, and we recognize and appreciate the value of police on the building as it stands. I do believe we are paid through 2035, according to my records. And I have a record of those payments on the last sheet of this. So any questions? That's John.
Thank you for all you're doing for this great organization. My burning question right now is the building big enough, or do you see it becoming not big enough in the future to meet the growing need, with including storage? And
I mean, quite honestly, I dream of a larger space. Everyone who does the kind of work that we do dreams of a larger space, am I right? I dream of a larger space, a more modern space, but given the logistics of land costs, building in the mountains, cost of facilities, it would take several $1 million to make what we need happen. It is not that we would not look into that. It is not that we are not still thinking about funding and future expansion and what the future needs are. We are solid where we are right now. Should we continue with exponential growth? We will probably, be looking, I'll probably knocking on your door going, help me find some funding. You got some extra grant writers. But right now, for where we are, we're in good shape. Again, I honestly hope the need doesn't grow. Because that means we're not addressing the needs of this community. That means we're not addressing underlying issues. I don't want to see the need grow. I want us here to meet them. And if that means a new facility someday, I mean, I'll be honest, during during Halloween, Gary Wood and I sat down and we drew out dream plans for what we wish we had, you know, to deal with a crisis like that. But we're talking millions of dollars to make that happen. Which if we've got the funding, let's do it. Start talking. I'm down. But I don't think we're gonna outgrow the space anytime soon. I'm grateful to have it. Again, if the opportunity arose for a brand new shiny facility that was in a reasonable location with access, you know, and ability for us to do more and expand. And I could afford it, and I could afford staffing to run it, because more space does not mean I've got more money for more people, because nobody wants to fund staff. I would be interested. If the funding was there.
Page wide, you're only within 4 days. If you could be open all more days, just would you? Is there a need for that? Yeah.
Yes, if I could hire a second cook, if I could hire a second person to assist in the pantry. Because my people are flat out 12-hour days right now. And it's exhausting work. It is very public facing. You're dealing with people in crisis. You're dealing with people who are again, it's taken everything they've got to walk in our doors. They are under stress, they're under pressure, they are scared, they are in need. And we put a lot of our energy, emotional energy, every day into making sure people feel safe and comfortable in our space. And so it is a fabulous job, but it is a trying job. And so I would need more personnel to be able to open more, which means I'd need another, you know, $100,000 plus to be able to staff us, to have us open 7 days a week. If that money was available, I would do it in a heartbeat. So yeah, we're also looking at funding to get a mobile pantry, so that say another Halloween type crisis hits, we would be able to get out into the communities and into the ends of the hollers and year round, but also during crisis. And I would love to be able to fund that vehicle and staff that as well. So I have big dreams. I'm just looking for the money. So yeah, if you've got money for me, John, let me know. That's all.
Thank you very much.
So the total income is around 400,000, and you're saying you need more than 100 to.
By the time, well, we were able to, about 3 or 4 years ago, for the first time ever, provide, the one benefit we provide for our staff is health insurance. And that current staffing levels almost $40,000 a year. And so for me to bring on 2 more full-time people, which I would need, and pay health insurance for them, even if I'm paying them $35,000 a year, which is not a living wage around here, by the way. It would be really tough, you know, to do that without health insurance, because we don't have a lot of other benefit we can offer folks. Folks don't work in nonprofit for the money. Folks work in nonprofit because they care. And they believe in their community, and they believe they can make a difference. So I would be looking at, you know, at least at a minimum, another $100,000 for 2 more staff positions, and probably more if I'm honest. So
I was just recognizing that's 25% of the existing income. That'd be, you know.
yeah, and that's what that's not make, you know, and me and my staff, we don't make a lot of money. And we have health insurance. There's no retirement, there's no dental, there's no vision, there's baseline health insurance. And that's still $34,000 a year. And we just got a quote that's going to go up 10%. So, yeah, times are tough. So I wish that I had that more money to, you know, more ability to put more of that money elsewhere, but the only way to, you know, retain good, solid staff is to treat them right. And that for me was making sure my staff could go to the doctor if they got sick. So that became a priority for us in taking care of our people who are taking care of others.
That's pretty amazing. You can do all that for $400,000.
And we're going to come in under that, because I'm going to make sure. Any other questions or? Oh,
Thank you very much.
okay, thanks. Oh, and I'm gonna give you a stack of these. This is my business card if you want to take one past town, in case anybody needs to get in touch with me or you want to come tour the community table.
Volunteer.
That would be even better. We have a new volunteer system. You can sign up for a shift online.
A lot of the fact that there's several issues brought up. Line item 13, which is the support staff. And I think there might be some proposals for additional volunteer help. Might be some ideas about trying to make things a little better. I think there's been a lot of things said today that board members might appreciate a little extra time to think on. So, and in light of the fact that we have a ribbon cut at 11 o'clock, which is 2 minutes, we want to table line item 13 till our next meeting and give some additional time for consideration.
I did want to make a comment before we do that, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I want to give a snapshot. I think that perception is reality and we all see what we see when we go there. And sometimes we see good, sometimes we see bad. And I just wanted to give a snapshot that I know Perry and his crew were kind enough to stock it yesterday. And it's 7 something. I can look at the time last night. I took pictures just to show how quickly it gets depleted. And, you know, we can go right now and see something totally different that was yesterday, that was an hour ago, that was 2 hours ago. And it does take a community to do anything, to do any nonprofit, to do any good act of service. We all have a perception of how everybody functions in their life, and we don't know what's one doing and what another's not doing. And we all need to do all the good we can, all the ways we can, all the time. So I had mentioned in the last meeting, perhaps a board member could maybe own this responsibility for a little while, because obviously it needs attention from us. And it is on our property, and it is our need right now. And I would personally like to volunteer and be that person until December. I'm stepping off in December. This could be something you guys could revisit when I'm not on the board. And if you see that that was a good thing, great. Assign someone else in January or at your December meeting to take that role on. It's a short-term basis. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but at least we could address some of the small things. You mentioned the food in there that was going bad. Of course, something that is not in a metal container is going to go bad in the conditions with a leaky sink. Of course, if the door is left open, feces is going to get in there because it's shelter for our cat. I mean, it's definitely going to happen. And it's definitely going to happen on an hourly, not daily basis. It's going to change. So I would like your blessing to just kind of oversee it, at least for the next couple of months, and see if we can do good together and have some accountability.
John?
No. Yeah, I mentioned earlier in some conversations that I'd be willing to take that on. And Mary, I think if you want to do that, we can revisit after that. I also think it's a wonderful thing for our community. And I think, you know, if we can make it better, great, let's do it. And so I think that, you know, we can always make it better. I would like for us to think about, we've mentioned some, it was Kathy maybe that mentioned the leaking and the lining of, you know, what if we were to look at getting some volunteers here to build a new one? Or at least repair it to where it's, you know, holding up to the elements. I think that'd be a good idea, but thank you, Mary. Yeah, I think that's, I'm all.
Yeah, the conversation.
I think there's a lot more to consider now that I'm thinking about the fact that we probably need something we can put a refrigerator in. Preserve things a little longer. I'm thinking this is more than just moving it to a different place in a parking lot we own. It needs to be improved.
So that might be a really good time at January, February, when we start having our meetings about our priorities and our needs and where we want to put our time and energy. That might be a great conversation for you all to have in the short term.
So
leave it where it is, right? Just leave it.
And I think you taking the lead on this, at least until you rotate off the board, is a grand and wonderful thing. And you may come back to us with some suggestions and we can try to do something to help. And if moving it is involved in that, that'd be great too, you know. So
it's worth pointing out that it's wasn't designed or built to be moved. We have moved it. and that's less than ideal. And that has contributed to some of the structural problems that we have. I'll throw that out there for your consideration.
I just think we can't make a rash decision if we're not giving it active daily attention.
The more I've listened today, the more I think we need some time, more time for consideration about what is best. So I would entertain a motion that we table this matter till another day. Good.
Yeah, I'll make the motion, but,
You table, you need to decide when.
that's what I was gonna mention. If we could maybe make this on our next meeting that we establish, some more, I think thoughtful discussion and come up with an official plan. Mary taking that over.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we put that on our next meeting.
Yeah, so we have a motion to table this line item 13 till our next meeting. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Opposed by like sign, motion carries. I think it's time that Brad Waldrop took over this meeting.
I'm open with adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. We have any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. All opposed by like sign. We stand adjourned.